The observer-dependent theory of everything, or ODTOE, posits that conscious observation is the primary agent of reality formation. In this framework, the outcome of any event is a direct property of the observer's own belief. When a massive group shares a contextual belief, their individual observations align. This collective coherence anchors a reality configuration in place, resulting in the stable, structured physical world shown here. The system maintains the stability as long as the observers are in sync. However, a rift occurs when two massive populations develop configurations that cannot coexist in the same space. This creates a literal contradiction in the underlying configuration space. Mathematically, two distinct groups are attempting to physically actualize different outcomes in the exact same spatial coordinates. Within ODTOE, the persistence of a stable world is a function of this collective consensus. If that consensus breaks into incompatible halves, the shared reality faces a structural, physical threat. When previously isolated groups establish contact, their configuration space fractures. This moment of interaction forces two self-consistent realities into a single, shared arena. This generates a state of structural frustration. Because the two groups exert equal pressure toward incompatible goals, the global coherence of the entire system drops to 0.5, effectively stalling the evolution of reality. Physicists call this regime B, struggle. It is a state of continuous reality war where energy is consumed by the mutual refutation of the opposing group's beliefs rather than the reinforcement of a shared world. The groups become locked in strange loops. Each side operates within a self-reinforcing cycle of logic that is internally consistent but remains mutually exclusive to the other. The math governing these configurations suggests this tension cannot be sustained. The system is pushed toward a breaking point, where the struggle must resolve into a new state. The central theorem on configuration collision proves that ideological struggle is a transient state. It is a bridge toward a more stable mathematical outcome. The most common resolution is regime C, absorption. This transition is governed by the parameter of asymmetry, ρ. Even a microscopic advantage in observers or belief tips the balance. This positive feedback loop increases the dominant group's inertia, eroding the weaker group until it is consumed. This process eventually restabilizes the universe under a single configuration, though it requires the total erasure of the losing group's reality. In a reality war, any significant imbalance leads to the mathematical domination of one configuration over the other. A far more dangerous scenario occurs when the two groups are perfectly matched. Without an advantage, neither side can trigger an absorption event. Instead, the system enters regime E, collapse. This is the entropic death of the shared configuration. The viability of a reality is tracked by the beta index. When mutual refutation causes collective belief to drop, beta falls below 1.0, losing the inertia required to exist. Collective probability vanishes, and the world fragments into infinite, unstable microstates that decay almost instantly. In a state of collapse, the ideological conflict is over, because the environment that hosted the conflict has ceased to exist as a coherent structure. A perfectly balanced reality war guarantees mutual destruction. There is a third path that avoids both domination and collapse, regime D, or synthesis. Synthesis requires locating a third point, R3. To transition, this new configuration must be closer to both groups than they are to each other. It must provide a visible alternative that accommodates elements of both original configurations. Identifying this point usually requires a meta-observer, an agent capable of viewing the conflict from a higher dimensionality, outside the original strange loops of the two conflicting groups. Resolving a collision of this scale demands a perspective that perceives a wider reality than the one currently under dispute. Synthesis results in the most stable configuration of all. It unites the numbers and coherence of both groups into a singular, resilient structure. In a world defined by global contact, avoiding interaction is no longer an option. Our configurations are in a constant state of overlap. The math of ODTOE shows that prolonged ideological struggle is an illusion. It is always a precursor to a breaking point. The system will resolve itself. Without an active effort toward synthesis, the physics of reality lead toward forced absorption or catastrophic collapse. The survival of our shared world depends on our ability to observe a reality vast enough to accommodate both sides of the collision.